Salutations readers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today, this is going to be a dedicated reading vlog. Now, as y'all already know from the thumbnail and the title, I will be reading books that have been marketed as Howl's Moving Castle coded, maybe fans of Howl's Moving Castle, etc., all those kind of things. Now, if you clicked on this video and you do not know what even Howl's Moving Castle even is, it is both a book and a movie, depending on who you're talking to. For me, I recognize Howl's Moving Castle as the movie, a Studio Ghibli movie that was directed and written by Hayao Miyazaki. And that movie followed Sophie, who is a young woman who makes hats, who was cursed by a witch to pretty much look like an old lady. And she is trying to find Howl in his castle in order to find a way to break her curse, basically. And there's also a bunch of other things added upon the movie. I don't want to talk too much. It gets a little bit spoilery if I talk too much about it, but it's a very much loving film. It's also romantic as well. So yeah, there's a lot to love about that movie. There's also a book that the movie was, I won't say it's adapted from, because when I think Studio Ghibli and getting book to their film, it's not quite a one-to-one adaptation, but it's definitely heavily inspired by a book that I do not know who the author's name is. And I do know it's the first book in a series, but I never read the books. I am not interested in reading the books. I'm only familiar with the movie. So I don't really know when books are being compared to Howl's Moving Castle, if it's referring to the movie or the book. But I'm assuming it's the movie, because the movie, in my knowledge, is more popular than the book. So I'm going to assume that we're talking about the Studio Ghibli film regarding Howl's Moving Castle, in case anyone's wondering. And as y'all can tell in the thumbnail, you already know the 3 books I will be reading, but I do want to talk just briefly on what these books are. And also just to let y'all know that all these books are pretty much going to be new releases. They're 2024 or even a 2025 release as well. So first up, I do have Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Portnick. This is a debut novel. This is a YA fantasy, romantic fantasy kind of standalone that is drawing from Polish folklore, mythology. And yeah, I think we're following a young girl who has magic and is trying to find a way to wish away her magic for some reason. And the forest listens, so I think the forest is sentient. And yeah, then we have this guardian of the forest person here. That's all you know. Can I look in the inside flap to know the synopsis? I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to remember it. But yeah, I'm very much curious about this one. So yeah, I do have the audiobook as well to check out, because it does this book does feature with Polish names and places and stuff that I do not know how to pronounce, so audiobook will be helpful. Next up, I do have The Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Fueko. This is a standalone romantic fantasy set in the same world as Raybear, where we follow a whole different character, and I think she's like a maid, hence the title, and then we do like some sort of a god that's a crocodile. That's all I really know, and that's because I've only read Raybear. I've not finished reading the duology, but you do not need prior knowledge of the series to read this one. But just for myself though, I will be reading Redemptor first before I start reading this book, because I do want to be way more informed of the world before I read The Maid and the Crocodile. So I will be reading Redemptor first before checking this book out. And then last but not least, I will be reading Modern Divination by Isabel Agajanian. This comes out May 6th in the United States, but in the United Kingdom though it will come out January 30th. And this one is this one's actually a debut novel as well. It's a queer contemporary fantasy, first book in a duology, and it follows academic rivals and something about witches. Yeah, I think the rivals are like witches and there's spells, and yeah, it's a book that was originally self-published and now it's being traditionally published, and I have heard from the author there's a lot considerably changed from the self-published version to this traditionally published version, so I'm not totally sure what about the story is the same or versus different, because I did not look too deep in this analysis. I really don't care. So yeah, that's all I really know about it, to be honest. And I do have an e-arc though of the book, so I can at least read it way ahead of time than the United States release date, so I'm very excited about that. But yeah, those are pretty much all the books that I plan to be reading in this reading vlog. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to read all these books, so bear with me. I'm literally recording this intro December 12th, 2024. So only time will tell, and y'all will get to know it first, basically. on when this vlog will be going up. So yes, but anyways, I do plan on having this entire reading vlog though be spoiler free, and I will mark, of course, spoilers in the timestamps, but you can also look in the video description for the timestamps specifically if I do get into spoilers. But I don't think I will be getting into spoilers, especially for like these books, since they're 2024 releases, and Modern Divination also will be an arc, so I can't quote anything anyway. So I don't think there'll be much regarding spoilers, so I think you'll still be fine. But I'm just very curious though about books being marketed as like whether for fans of Howl's Moving Castle or just being compared to Howl's Moving Castle, because Howl's Moving Castle is not really my favorite Studio Ghibli film, but I do find it interesting when I've seen a lot of books being like, oh, this read like Howl's Moving Castle. So we shall see. I am really much excited though for these two books in particular, since I own them physically, but I'm also looking forward though to Modern Divination as well, since it comes out next year, to know my thoughts about it. But yeah, I will be starting out this vlog though with Where the Dark Stands Still, because I already am borrowing the audiobook, and I will be starting this today. Even though as I'm recording though, it is literally like 5 a.m. So maybe not start right now, but it will be started today. I will start reading this book today. And hopefully I can actually share y'all my initial thoughts on it sometime today, maybe even tomorrow, depending on how fast I read. But yes, I'm indeed very much excited to start reading these books. And yeah, we shall talk later. Alright, so y'all, today is December 13th, and now I have an update for y'all. So I did start reading Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Poranek, and I'm not really enjoying it as much as I'm hoping to. I'm only made it to chapter 5, which is page 32. And again, this is a story where we're following Lishka, who decides to go into this forest because she's trying to get rid of her magic. Now when she gets in the forest and stuff to find this magical flower, because if she gets this magical flower, she can make a wish, and she can wish for her magic to be gone. But then she meets the guardian of the forest, and the guardian says, if you want to pretty much use this flower, because apparently the flower belongs to him, if you want to use this flower to wish away your magic for some weird reason, then you need to be in service of, you need to be in my servitude for a year. After you survive the year in my service, then you can wish to get rid of your magic or something. And I'm like, okay. And that happened like really quickly. I actually kind of thought that part of the plot won't come into a little bit later. But yeah, we literally start off the story with her going into the wood and actually looking for this flower, and then she meets the guardian of the forest, and now she is starting her 1 year of servitude at his mansion place. And I'm like, okay. So the pacing here, I mean, the pacing is consistent. It's just that the plot is just a little bit more far ahead than I thought. I thought we'll be like in her village a little bit more to get a more sense of like where she's from, but I guess that is not important, but which makes sense. I mean, it's meant to be a forest fantasy. I mean, even the cover says so. But I'm not particularly loving the writing, and I did try to hybrid read this with the audiobook, but unfortunately the audiobook is not matching what I'm reading physically. Like, there are definitely, like, whatever the narrator was reading and what I'm reading with my eyeballs, we're reading separate things. It's not so different, but there's definitely sentences that were added in the audiobook that's not in here, and there are sentences that are missing from the audiobook but are added in here, and I'm just like, okay, that's just, it's not one-to-one basically. If you're hybrid reading the audiobook with a physical, or even I'm assuming even the ebook copy, it's not going to be matching, and I really, really hate that. I find that to be a pet peeve when the audiobook and the physical, or whatever, physical or ebook does not match, and I'm just like, really? Why is it not matching, you know? So I found that to be very irritating. So I pretty much just abandoned the audiobook to go with the physical book. And I'm not really as hooked to the story, unfortunately. I don't find Lishka to be an interesting protagonist. I'm kind of finding her a little bit boring. I'm a little bit more curious about how her magic works, but I don't know. This one might just end up being a DNF. I might try just listen to the audiobook solely, but like, I'm not fully sold on the audiobook production either, but I don't know. I am leaning towards just straight up DNFing this book, because honestly, I have other current reads and I'm not as interested in reading this. Even though this is for, you know, this reading vlog, but I'm like, I don't care, you know? It's just, it's a little sad. I was really looking forward to it, and it's a debut novel, and I got this months ago because I thought the synopsis and the cover was, I mean, I really love the cover, but I also thought the synopsis would be interesting. But yeah, I'm not particularly loving it, honestly. I'm not even fully enjoying it. I'm kind of just like, okay, sure, I guess. I'm feeling myself just a skim, so I think this is just going to be a straight up DNF, which is very unfortunate because I literally just started it yesterday, and now I'm here with putting the book down already. So I guess that's one book down, and we already started with a DNF, so that's not going good. Now, as far as what I'm going to be reading next, I don't even know which book I'm going to read next, honestly. I don't know if I'll start reading my Arc of Modern Divination, or maybe I'll just start reading The Maid and the Crocodile while I wait, but I'm going to wait until I get the audiobook, though, again. So I'll hold off on The Maid and the Crocodile, so we shall see. But the next time, though, we talk, I hope that I choose to continue reading one of these other two books, because Where the Dark Stands Still is not looking like a good start right now. Salutations, y'all. It is December 29th, 2024. And I do want to let y'all know a quick update that I have finally finished reading Redemptor by Jordan Freckle, the sequel to Raybear. And I just want to give just a few thoughts on this book, because it's going to be hard for me to really talk about The Maid and the Crocodile whenever I do start it, because I haven't read The Maid and the Crocodile yet. And I do know for this vlog I'm supposed to be reading The Maid and the Crocodile, but since this book spoils the ending of this, I read this first so I can get to this. So let's just have some quick thoughts on this, shall we? So we definitely follow the events of Raybear, and I'm not going to spoil anything regarding the ending of Raybear. I'm not even going to spoil the ending of Redemptor. But I do have to say, we definitely are introduced to the crocodile character in here, and I did find his personality to be very interesting. At least in this and right here. I don't know if I don't think it's going to change much actually in this book here, but I do like the crocodile actually. I don't particularly always agree with his methods of doing things to get what he wants, but in a way he does want is pretty much class freedom and equality, and making sure the people who work really hard are given fair and equal treatment. So yeah, I'm like, obviously I agree with the guy, you know, I do. But other times, though, he sometimes do things so they can do a little bit things here and there so he can get his way. And he also, like in the synopsis of The Maid and the Crocodile, he is indeed a god. He's not human. Mostly we don't know about that in this book, but when you read this, you find out that this crocodile person is not human. Now, as far as who the crocodile is, I will not tell you who they are. You gotta read the book to find out who they are. But I do find it very interesting and how, like, the revelation regarding that. Although I do wonder, though, about the crocodile's presence in the Maid of the Crocodile. Because especially with the events of Redemptor, I don't know how on earth his presence is, like, feasible, I guess, in The Maid and the Crocodile. So I do find that to be very, very interesting, and that's why I'm like super excited to check out The Maid and The Maid and the Crocodile. I really am excited to read The Maid and the Crocodile because I really did enjoy my time with Redemptor. This is like a really good sequel. I have no idea. Well, actually, that's not true. I do know why it took me all the way to December to read the sequel. Like, I literally read Raybear in April. And now it's December. It's been months since I read the first book. And I think it took me so long to read Redemptor because I loved Raybear so much. And I have indeed read the first book in the series that I've loved very much the first book of. And then the sequel is not quite on par. It's still really good, but not as on par as the first book. Personally, to me, this duality is very much set. Like, it's very much equal quality. Actually, I kind of like Redemptor more, honestly, but I don't know. I do actually like both. Like, the way that Jordan Freckle just writes these characters, oh my gosh, it's so, so good. Like, she knows how to write characters. She knows how to make me care about characters. She knows how to handle themes and difficult conversations with characters that still align with their morals, you know? I just really, really love that. So honestly, y'all, if you have not read this duology, I'm telling y'all right now to go pick it up. And I highly recommend the audiobook because this was mostly just an audiobook read, even though I had it physically. And sometimes I would pick up the physical copy. But honestly, I just want to listen to the audiobook, okay? Jonice Aberpride did her thing. Okay, she did her thing. I am very much grateful that I finally have read Redemptor. And this was actually the 100th book of 2024 for me. I do not know if I'll read more because, like I said, it's December 29th. So I do not know if I'll be reading another book before the year is actually over. But this is my 100th book. This was worth being the 100th book for sure. So all this to say is that I love Redemptor. Jordan Fuego is definitely a new all-time favorite author for me, and I really cannot wait to get to The Maid and the Crocodile. I do want to wait though for the audiobook. I'm still on hold for the audiobook through my library with Libby, so I do want to hold off on this book, especially since the narrator is different. Like, it's not gonna be Jonice Aberpratt, it's gonna be someone else. And I have heard good things about the audiobook, so I'm very much curious to see what I will think about The Maid and the Crocodile. I'm very much curious now to read this romantic fantasy, especially since, you know, for this vlog, you know, since it's been inspired by Howl's Moving Castle, and not really the movie, like the actual book itself. So yeah, I do have to say I'm very much curious to see on how Jordan Fuego goes about this story. And I will come back to this vlog when I have finished reading it, and I'm so excited. Alright, salutations y'all. Haven't updated this vlog in a good long minute, but I want to update y'all on January 20th, 2025 that I have finally finished reading The Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Fuego. And y'all, I fucking love this book. It was so good. Like, to be fair, you know, it's based on like a world that I'm already familiar with, but there is enough world building detail that if you have not read the duology, if you've not read Raybearer or even the Redemptor, then you have enough information to understand the world and certain important events that are important for the main plot in this story. That's it. Although, I do recommend, though, reading the duology because you get a lot more context for things. Sure, like the book tells you, like Jordan Fuego tells you certain things that happen, but I think it just is helpful to get a little bit more context if you know, read this duology. Personally, even if you don't even read Redemptor, I do at least recommend reading Raybearer. Just saying, just get that basis at least. Although also Redemptor though would be really good too, especially regarding the crocodile, because we do get to see the crocodile in a different light in Redemptor, and the light in here. Yeah, I have to say I really do like his character arc, honestly, because we were introduced to his character in Redemptor, like I said, and like while I do like him, I still enjoy his character here, especially with his growing attraction and love for Sade. I will have to say that there are certain things that did make me go, It did annoy me a little bit. It made me go, about his character a little bit. Not because of it's badly written, but because it's actually a genuine flaw of his that is always addressed. And it's definitely a lot more addressed here in this book. I mean, it was also addressed in like Redemptor as well, but it was definitely a lot more like he actively changed though in this book, which makes sense, since this is actually the book where he's featured a lot more, especially since he is the Howl character, Beast character, love interest here, especially for like this vlog as far as the Howl comparison. Yeah, definitely does remind me of Howl in a way, but he's definitely his own kind of character. Like, there's definitely clear inspirations here of Howl's Moving Castle for sure, especially regarding this actual place that does give like the doors, you know, in Howl's Castle. Whether you've seen the movie or read the book, it's the same thing about those doors. I like how Jordan Fuego went about that. But also, though, I really do like Sade. I was a little bit worried, though, on how if I would like her. But honestly, though, I was really intrigued with her and her story. Like, just in that very first chapter, though. Because I can easily just understand that she's a service worker. She's a maid. She's just trying to get through life. And trying to be right where she is and know her place so she can be comfortable. In a way, not really fully comfortable, because she has a fire in her. She has an inner fire that she tries to simmer, she just tries to simmer down, because she's experienced an event in her childhood where she thinks she's been like, oh, I need to make myself small, because if I try to make myself bigger, try to be better than I already am, then bad things are going to happen. And like in my back of my head, I'm just like, Sade, no, that's not how you want to go about that. And I am glad though that the crocodile at least was able to help change her, at least give her a bit more perspective on that. Although Crocodile though also has flaws as far as his worldview as well, because even though he's a revolutionary, he also has his flaws as well that he doesn't realize. And I'm so glad that Sade points out to him quite often, especially in the second half of the book too. I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely here for that. I'm like, yes, please do. And yeah, I also like the side characters, the people that she's grown attached with and become friends with. That was actually really, really nice. There is also a sapphic relation present in here, not with regard to the main character or anything, but with two side characters. So just let y'all know about that. And also as far as disability rep, because if I don't know if y'all can tell, but Sade does have vitiligo, but she's also a cane user because she suffered an accident from when she was a child working at a sweat mill, and it pretty much she seriously injured her foot. So she has a cane to help her walk and things. So stairs has been a very big issue for her. So she's trying to find work. She's trying to find a place where she can work with regarding less about stairs. But unfortunately, she had to do with stairs. But things worked out in the end. But yeah, that was also very frustrating, honestly, about the lack of accommodations for her. But yeah, this was just really, really good. Like, it's the same wit, character work, writing, world building detail. And the romance was really good. Like, I was really here for the romance. I was very much invested in it. And even when, like, characters try to overcome their flaws and stuff, whether make them closer or make them grow apart, I truly appreciate how Jordan Freckle has, like, respected the romantic arc between the two of them, so that it does make sense when they do come together. Because I was a little bit worried on when they're going to come officially to get together. But at the very end, though, it all worked out. It all makes sense. And where the characters ended, it all makes sense. Although I gotta say, I definitely laughed a lot, okay? I was smiling. I said some, ooh. I said some, hee. And I was like, ah. I was doing all the things, okay, while I was reading this book. So yeah, this book, entertaining. Highly recommend if you have not checked out The Man in the Cracker by Jordan Freckle. And I need Jordan Freckle to write more books. I need more books from her. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. So as far as being Howl's Moving Castle coded, this is pretty much like, yeah. I was feeling the vibes. I was feeling the Howl Moving Castle vibes for sure. The vibes were very strong with this one. So yeah, that's so far technically 2 books down. And I actually decided to add an additional book because I was thinking, I was like, I'm talking about Howl's Moving Castle. And granted, I have seen the Studio Ghibli film, but I've never actually read the original book. So I did one on Libby, and I placed a hold on the audiobook. And I do have the audiobook on hold for my library. Problem though is that this book is due in like 5 days. So I need to hurry up and read this audiobook quickly. Thankfully though, it is short. And yeah, it's like about 8.5 hours long. So yeah, not too long. Yeah, so even though I do have one more book for this vlog, Tiny Speaking with Modern Divination by Isabel Agajanian, I will be reading Howl's Moving Castle, the original book, before I get to Modern Divination. Even though I did start reading that book, but I don't want to get to Howl's Moving Castle before Modern Divination, especially since Modern Divination is going to take me a while. Howl's Moving Castle, I'll be able to get through pretty quickly. So that's where we're at. That's the goal. So I hope to update y'all in a few days with my thoughts on the original book, Howl's Moving Castle, which is the first book in a series. So maybe I'll continue on with the series. I don't know yet, but for sure, read the first book. I'll let you know my thoughts later. Alright, salutations y'all. It is literally the next day. It is January 21st, and I do have updates on Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. So, I'm gonna DNF this book. I'm DNFing. Now, for any of y'all who do not know, again, I am reading the original book, and this book originally came out in 1986. So this is a story where we follow Sophie Hatter, who, eldest of 3 girls, who is an apprentice in this hat shop. She gets cursed by the Witch of the Waste into an old lady, and she's trying to find ways to break her curse, and she stumbles upon this moving castle from the wizard Howl Pendragon, and yeah, just pretty much figuring out how to end her curse. And they find out that there's some sort of contract between the magician and this talking flame demon named Calcifer, and and things go on. And if you have seen the movie from Studio Ghibli that's written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, then you pretty much already know a lot about this story already. And so far, even though I only made it to about 42% of the way through, it is pretty much quite similar to the movie for sure. Although there are certain differences for sure that I'm kind of just like, not really a fan of, to be honest. Or maybe I just don't care. I really don't. I really prefer the way that Hayao Miyazaki went about this story than Diana Wynne Jones did, to be quite honest. Because there's definitely things like even regarding the whole thing about Howl eating the hearts of young girls and all that stuff, I don't particularly like the way that they're going about it here. And I don't know necessarily how much to really talk about it, because again, this story is old. It is actually considered as like a modern middle grade fantasy classic, at least according to Storygraph anyways. However though, because I don't know, I was like, should I talk more about it? I don't know. I haven't fully decided how much I'm going to talk about the actual plot so far, especially since I made it this far into it, but maybe I should, because in this story, we do get to mention of 3 girls here, versus in the movie, that's also different. And again, I do have to say that, to be quite honest, I do prefer the movie. The movie just, I think, works better for this story than the book did. So, while again, the movie is not a one-to-one adaptation of the book, I just prefer how Hayao Miyazaki just went about the story and the characters more. And even as I was reading the story, I was picturing the characters from the movie more so. And the character dynamics here are also a little bit different than in the movie. Like, for example, I think it's Michael? I think it's Markle. Yeah, I think his name Markle in the movie. But in this book, I think it's Michael. Yes. And he is a little bit older in the book than he is in the movie, so that's different. Let's see. Also, Sophie, I think, in the book is appearing, she is an old lady, but she's not as old as in the movie as well. There's also a lot more background as far as Sophie and like her family, which I do appreciate a little bit more background since the movie didn't give us so much, but then they're not much of a focus, so I can see why the direction in the movie was a little bit different. But I wasn't quite, I found like kind of like this weird thing regarding like Howl and trying to, not even really woo really, but I guess trying to make one of Sophie's sisters fall in love with him, and he's having trouble with that. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, I wasn't really a fan of him trying to do all that, knowing full damn well he's not even in love with her himself. I'm just like, really? And also, Howl's a lot more dramatic, okay? He's way more of a drama queen. And Howl's in the book than in the movie. Like, you can tell he's a drama queen, you know, and all the things in the movie, but in the book it's a little bit, it's more dramatic. And I'm kind of like, okay, sure, but it's even more, but I just think it was just a lot more ridiculous. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, man, whatever. And the writing is also fine. I think the writing is fine for the time period and for the age group, but I'm also just like, I could just tell it's just written old and it doesn't give me much life for me. It does feel a little bit of like telling me things versus really showing me things, but it's enough to keep the story moving and a little bit of my interest. But again, my interest is only really there because I watched the movie. Like, if I didn't watch the movie, I don't think I would be as interested in continuing this story as much as I did. All in all, to say is that the movie was just better to me. I just prefer the movie way more than this book, unfortunately. So I am returning it to my library. And also the narrator, Jenny Sterling, actually has a pretty solid narration for the story. But yeah, this book is just not for me, and I shall return it back to the library, which I just did. So that's unfortunate. I was really hoping, I was like, yeah, let me just read the original book. And especially since it's a vlog about Howl's Moving Castle, why not read the original book? And I'm like, nah, the movie was better. So here we are. Now, if y'all want to read the original story, you can. It is a first book in a series. It's a short series, though. It's only like 3 books. And I was kind of curious to see if I could read all 3 of those books, but nah, I couldn't even get through this first book, so we're already here. Anyways, that's that on Howl's Moving Castle. There's only one more book left for this vlog, and that is Modern Divination. I have no idea how long it's going to take me to read it because the book is long, and it's slow. It is slow, so I do not know when I will be able to update y'all, especially when I'm in the middle of reading so many other books for other things, so we shall see when I get to finishing reading that book. But I definitely will be updating y'all when I finish that book, or even if I DNF it for some reason, just whatever, and then we will end this reading vlog with some concluding thoughts regarding books being compared to Howl's Moving Castle. Salutations, y'all. Today is February 4th, and I am here to let y'all know that I have finally finished reading Modern Divination by Isabel Agajanian. So, unfortunately, on my Kindle, you do not see a cover because my e-arc for some reason was a PDF, so there is no cover, unfortunately. So here's the cover right here, though. I do love the cover. So, literally, just finished it like a couple of hours ago, and y'all, I really did enjoy my time reading Modern Divination. So this is the first book in the Spells for Life and Death duology. Originally published in January 2023 and now traditionally published. It was initially self-published by the author and now traditionally published by Pan Macmillan. So thanks to Pan Macmillan actually for an e-arc of this book. Y'all, this was actually just like really good, especially for the theme for this video. I do see the Howl's Moving Castle vibes. It's actually pretty strong in here, actually. So we do follow Aurelia Schwartz, who is a witch and a student at Cambridge. And we have Theodore Ingram, who is her academic rival, but also her love interest. And there is a threat to their lives, because I think there's like a witch hunter, basically. Because there's like a witch who is murdered on their college. Theodore Ingram convinces Aurelia Schwartz to go with them to like this small town with this kind of house, remote house and stuff, where they could be safe. So yeah, this is a very, very slow paced book. Like if you're someone who wants like a plot, I mean, there is a plot here. Don't get me wrong. There is a plot. The threat of this witch hunter is very present, but the plot is not driving the story. It's very much character driven. So you have to be here for Aurelia and Theodore. Mostly Aurelia, because actually the book is narrated in Aurelia's perspective, even though it's third person, but it's more of her perspective on things. I think we do get like a couple chapters that have Theodore's perspective. But this is mostly Aurelia's book. So you have to be here for the characters, their personalities, their growth, the romance between the two of them. It's definitely more of a forefront and has a little bit more of a development here. I mean, the plot has development, but I was definitely more invested in like the romance and actually the character work, the character development between these characters more so than the plot. Like there's still enough of the plot that still keep me intrigued, but it's very much character driven. But it's fine though, because actually I was really here for the characters. Now I will just say, full disclosure, even though I did have an e-arc from the publisher, I did use Spotify Premium audiobook hours to listen to the audiobook, which is narrated by... Okay, the audiobook was narrated by Kristen Atherton. That narrator did such a great job with this book, because like, while the book is very much slow paced, the audiobook really made things, I think in my mind, a little bit faster. Sure, I sped up the audiobook, but still, it made things go a little bit faster, and actually made me really excited to actually hybrid read. I do recommend the audiobook though. Especially if you're an American reader, because the book literally does not come out in the United States until May 6th, even though it's already out in the UK, New Zealand, Australia, all these places as of January 30th. And I'm just like, why is it so far away? Because I really want a physical copy of the book so much. There's so many parts of it that I annotated because I really love the author's writing style. Honestly, the Isabel Akajanian their writing style reminded me of like Olivia Blake's writing style, which definitely makes sense. Like I really do love both Olivia Blake and Isabel Akajanian's writing styles. So if you're a fan of Olivia Blake's writing style, I do recommend this book. Now, if you're not a fan of Olivia Blake's writing style, then most likely don't check out this book for sure. But I am a fan of Olivia Blake's writing, so I'm now a fan of Isabel Akajanian's writing. Because another thing too about this book is that it is compared, I think the comp titles are like House, Moving Castle, A Discovery of Witches, but I think it's also a little bit of the Atlas Six. I can kind of see it because this book has also been marketed as like dark academia, and there is like dark academic things going on in here because these characters, they came from a university. They're also medievalists as well. We do get references of like their studies throughout the text, so it's not just a front. There is some substance here regarding the dark academia here besides the aesthetic, which I do appreciate. I mean, I like the aesthetic and all, but we need a little bit more from that. But it's not quite like a critique of academia that I usually would prefer in my dark academia. But I do like at least the references of like what they're studying in the text, especially when it comes to their academic rivalry. So that much I at least find to at least be interesting. So the dark academia is definitely strong here as far as aesthetic, but not quite so much on the kind of dark academia that I particularly love, but it's fine. I'm actually really here though for Aurelia and Theodore though, or Rory and Teddy actually. I really loved on how Isabel Akajanian was able to write their slow burn academic to rivals romance. Like the book is a slow paced book. It's also has a slow burn romance. Look, if you do not know me, you gotta know one thing. As far as romantic tropes are concerned, slow burn works for me. I do love me a slow burn. And I love rivals to lovers, especially academic rivals to lovers. I don't know why, but academic rivals to lovers works for me. So if it's a slow burn, child, you already had me. You had me. So the book was just great. I was having a great time, and I love the writing. Yo, I was having a great time. The only part of the story that I'm like, I can't give like a 5-star or anything is really because of the plot. Because of like this witch hunter thing and like the progression of that, but also like maybe the ending of that And also, there's also some couple other things too that was introduced. I was kind of like, so we were going to be able to come back to this though in the sequel, right? Because this is the first book of duology, which I think is slated to come out sometime next year. So I need the sequel though, because things happened. We still have a threat looming on top of Rory and Teddy's heads. And I want that quelched so that they can be together forever and ever, because I was here for the romance. Like, here's the thing with the romance. Like, how do I describe this romance? Because, like, what made at least a lot of the resentment and ire with Aurelia towards Theodore is a lot of, like, that she feels like he's condescending, he's looking down on her and stuff. Because they've definitely had their time, especially in undergrad, because actually I think they're grad students at this point, so they had their time like going back and forth as far as barbed wires. They had a lot of like things said to each other, a lot of mean things said to each other. And for Aurelia, she took it to heart, and for Theodore, he didn't realize how much he was gonna, what he said, but took it to heart. So that's what happened between them from there as far as their undergrad, and now in their grad school and stuff. They're still competing and stuff as far as like their papers, grants, all the things you would think that's like someone in their masters, basically, because they're like 23 years old. But as time goes on, especially with Aurelia seeing Theodore in a different light in like the small cottage in a small town, she's seeing Theodore in a different light. That makes her go, that opens her heart into just maybe getting to know Theodore a little bit more. And then she starts to fall in love with him and other things. And we get to learn about the magic between, like, it's just a lot. I really had a good time with Modern Divination. Okay, I just really do. I just love it. Okay, I really do. It's not a perfect book to me. I can't give it like a 5-star kind of book, but if the plot was just a little bit tighter here, honestly, it would have been a 5-star. But I think I rated it about 4.25, very close to a 4.5. Maybe I'll just bump it to a 4.5, but for right now, it's 4.25. I really enjoyed it. I'm so looking forward to the sequel, Quite Spells, that will be coming out next year. I do need it sooner though, because I gotta know what's gonna happen, okay? And also, I do hope that they'll keep the narrator for the sequel, because the narrator was doing their job, okay? Definitely doing their job. But yes, that's pretty much all my thoughts on Modern Divination. Let me look back on the content warnings, because there are some content warnings I think it's important to know. So while this is queer fantasy romance, there is sexual content. So sexual content is graphic and on page. Murder and violence is definitely on page, with death, blood, vomit. There is reference of a child death and passing. We also have alcohol, drinking a lot of alcohol in there. Also references towards like abandonment is definitely there, that's for sure. There's grief as well. References to classism. Yeah, I think that's all the content warnings. So yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on Modern Divination. So do check it out if you haven't already, especially with Spotify Premium. Definitely check out the audiobook. It is under 15 hours, so you can do it for like the month if that's what you want to do, or split it up between 2 months, however you want to do it. And I will be closing out this vlog, I think tomorrow, because I really want to talk overall thoughts on all these books, so we'll do that tomorrow. Alright, salutations y'all, here to end this vlog. I do have to say though, as far as like all these books for this vlog, things definitely evolved for sure. Like I really intended to have the first 3 books were The Dark Stand Still, Modern Divination, The Maid and the Crocodile. I intended those books to only be featured in this vlog, but I really did not consider reading the original book for some reason. I don't know why. I definitely should have actually initially. But all in all, as far as these books and being, especially them being compared to Howl's Moving Castle, I mean, I can only really speak to only 2 out of the 3 initial books, because I did DNF where The Dark Stand Still, unfortunately. But as far as like The Maid and the Crocodile and Modern Divination, I have to say they were, I think, were pretty solid. I think they were very much apt comparisons. So I can't quite say if like books that are being compared to Howl's Moving Castle fit the vibe or not, because again, the sample size for this vlog is very small. But so far, at least the ones that I did finish reading, they did fit the vibe, honestly. Like there's a particular vibe regarding like Howl's Moving Castle, like at least in the movie, because again, I didn't even finish reading the book either, because I truly believe the movie is better. Okay, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I do think that the Hayao Miyazaki film is better than the original story by Diane Wynne Jones. Is that the name? I think that's the author's name. I can't even remember. But yes, as far as the movie though, I really do think that Modern Divination, The Maid and the Crocodile really fit the vibes of the movie, because we just have like two characters who, depending on how the authors want to go, especially, I think specifically, both books really deal with like a little bit of classism. I mean, The Maid and the Crocodile was more focusing on classism, like that was more of a major focus in the story, while Modern Divination is more of, it was definitely more mentioned for sure. It's definitely a part of like Teddy and Rory's tension, at least on Rory's side for sure. But The Maid and the Crocodile was way more of a forefront, and I do think that as far as at least in the movie Howl's Moving Castle, I won't say classism is the main major focus, but war is. Like there is definitely like a very much heavy topic and very much a topical thing to discuss in like the movie version. Because the only thing we know about the war that's featured in Howl's Moving Castle is that there is an enemy, the prince of a rival nation goes missing, and that the rival country blames the country that the movie takes place in for the prince's disappearance. Hence war ensues and the use of magic, and of course we do have Howl with him turning into some sort of like a Birdman. At least in The Maid the Crocodile is not a Birdman, we have a crocodile guy. But at least in Modern Divination, we do have some semblance of that as well. But it's not even just like the magical transformation. It's also about the main male leads that they display emotion. Not display emotion. What am I trying to say? The male leads that are supposed to be comparable to like Howl specifically, they have this sense of arrogance / pride, but also whimsy to them that entices our Sophie counterpart characters in each of these books. Like for Howl, like again, he is whimsical, he's misunderstood, he's emotional, he's dramatic, he's prideful, but he has all these things, just like Zuri from The Maid and the Crocodile and Teddy Ingram from Modern Divination. All these characters are very similar to Howl, and I actually really think that Jordan Fueco and Isabel Agajanian did a really good job with like understanding Howl as like a character. So like even when these books are being compared to whether the book version, because even in the book version of Howl, he's also prideful, whimsical, but also arrogant and dramatic. Like child, he was dramatic. But just seeing how that both of these authors really understood like Howl's Moving Castle, whether they read the book, seen the movie, they understand like his character, and even the characters do end up being like more like the Sophie version, like the Sophie protagonist. They're also pretty strong-willed characters. Even with Sade and The Maid and the Crocodile, while she is trying to make herself appear as timid, she is very much strong-minded and strong-willed. Don't get me wrong. You start acting a mess now, she gonna, I mean, I don't know if she'll start fucking you up, but like, don't play with her now. Don't be playing with her, because you pushed her too far, she will fuck you up. And that's what I love about Sade. I was like, yeah, girl, you do your thing. Same with Rory too, even though she most likely will say it to your face way quicker than Sade, at least initially in the book. So there's that. But I also really like on how both books, both Modern Divination, The Maid and the Crocodile, also display the emotional journey between the romances between their main characters in both their books. That's also comparable to Howl's Moving Castle. I don't know, I just think that these books that are being compared to Howl's Moving Castle, at least the ones that I've picked so far, they've been pretty solidly compared to. I know with Where the Dark Stands Still, I did DNF it pretty early on, so I don't have much actual thoughts on like the Howl, Sophie counterpart characters, unfortunately. But I did feel like the vibe was there. It's just that I couldn't keep reading the book itself, unfortunately. But yeah, as far as this vlog, I did finish reading, well, as far as for this vlog, I only managed to finish reading 2 books out of the 4, I guess, that I slated into this vlog. I mean, I did DNF Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Pornick. I don't even have the book physically anymore. I literally unhauled it, so that's gone. And then we have The Maid and the Crocodile. Actually, before The Maid and the Crocodile, I did read Redemptor first, because at the time I didn't read Redemptor. And that's where you're introduced to the crocodile character. So I definitely recommend, though, reading the duology before you start reading this book, as far as world building details and maybe some character motivations and all that stuff. But you don't need to read the duology to Unearth to understand this book here. But I think it's appropriate, actually. I do have favorites over there, but just for sake here, I did at least have my spoiler-free thoughts on Redemptor here, so there's that. And then we have The Man in the Crocodile, which I loved. Oh my gosh, 5-star. Definitely one of the best books I've read this year so far, but definitely up there for sure. And then, well, with my Kindle here, with Modern Divination, yeah, this book I gave 4.25 stars, so yeah, you already know my thoughts on that one. But yeah, that is it, y'all. That is literally it as far as this vlog. I hope you all enjoyed it. I haven't even started editing this video yet, but I know it's a long one. But just thank you all if you even made it this far, for watching the vlog this far. Because I actually did have a good time with this video project for sure. Even if half the books on this video project were DNF'd and the other half I've read. But hey, the ones I've read, I really enjoyed and even loved. So honestly, it's kind of win-win here. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching this video. Like it if you like it. Comment down below your thoughts on any of these books if you have read them. And you made this far into the video, you're not sure what to say, but you want to leave me an emoji to let me know you're here. Well, you gotta leave me a castle emoji, obviously, for Howl's Moving Castle. I will accept nothing else. But anyways, thank you all again for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.